What's up, y'all? LTJ Regis here. This is Throwing Light. And if you're not throwing light, you're not acting right. Before I get into our next guest, remember, I'm pushing my YouTube channel in 2026. You can catch all the Throwing Light episodes. The Throwing Light tour is now going to be available. We just finished the New York part of it. That's going to be up. We're going to San Francisco. There are going to be some virtual cities. We're going to be working with New England. We're going to be in Manchester in October. So, like, the Throwing Light tour is where it's at. It's the place to find conversations and find things that relate to you to make you feel included in our community. Make sure you're subscribing so you know when I'm dropping new content. Besides Throwing Light, there are going to be lots of opportunities and projects that I'll also be working on with my community. You can catch music videos, readings, all types of things, and just make sure that you're sharing. With that being said, I want to go ahead and introduce our guest. I think it's your third time.
Second.
It's only your second. You should be on here more.
Yeah.
We need to change that.
It feels like it's been many.
Look, we haven't really hung out since IML last year or talked, really, to be honest with you. It doesn't
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
crazy to me. That's crazy
I
to me.
know.
It can't be like that.
It's
I will
definitely been a
do
lot going on.
I will do a better job and be a better friend and make sure that we're staying connected so we don't feel like strangers.
But we never feel like
I know,
strangers.
I love you so
It's
much.
just that we respect that each other are working in different projects and different
It's
things.
always nice to
And then
be like to have look you it's like you went from being like an inspirational figure in my life to like being like a friend, and so it's just like I just love like seeing you, being around you in person. I love seeing what you're doing. I just think that you're just very consistent. I think you're very loyal too. And that's an important quality to have, I think, especially in our community. But you've always flown above the drama. I would say that. So it's inspiring, and you have a presence. You have done so much. You've worked so hard, and you are the type of person I want in my life, and people that I want to continue to work with. So I just feel like I can always have a conversation with you or find something new, or we can get, inspire people. But I know you've been up to a lot, and that's kind of what we're going to get into. We've been busy. You've been busy. I keep up with you. Okay. So what's been going on? What before we get into like the big thing we want to talk about? What's been up? Like what have you been focusing your time on?
oh my God, I've been focusing my time and stretched in so many different areas. It's weird because it was interesting when you talk about like IML was like the last time we really engaged. Even then, I didn't realize all the different projects that I was kind of doing and starting to dip my feet in or my paws into. So it's just really about just staying visible. Not so much, well, yeah, a lot of it's about visibility, but a lot of it's about understanding. We're talking about like Black History Month is here, and it's about, when you look into all these kink spaces, how many Black representatives do you actually see, right? So it's about also keeping that visibility open and continuously going, that we are here, we do have shared experiences, and also making sure like our voices are at the table. So I would say a lot have been with a lot of the with MIR, being a club liaison, as well as on behind the scenes doing a lot of communication and talks with the IML staff, getting a little bit more involved with IML. Again, it's about trying to make sure that we have a seat at the table as well as a voice. So those are kind of like some of the surface level stuff that I've been doing. Of course, I've been working on my big project that's going to be actually being launched and released at Austin Key Weekend, which is the book, which was a huge huge undertaking.
I had no idea you were
You
working
know,
on a book. I had no idea you were working on a book. It was
yeah,
I was
it was a project.
I
Go
look I
ahead.
hollered when I saw it. I was like, "What?" And it's
It was
rock.
definitely a project that I had been working on, and when you start out doing it, it just kind of morphs and takes its own shape. It's a lot of back and forth. It's a lot of different pieces behind the scenes to it. So yeah, so that's like the big overall project within the last like year and a half that I've kind of been doing and working on. But again, it's just about community. For me, it's always about community, right?
Right.
And it's all about looking out and trying to be that voice for marginalized communities and again, staying visible. It's so easy to kind of step back, and then you look around and you don't see folks like me or folks that you can identify as out here visibly in the spaces. Yeah.
How do you navigate rubber and leather? Like, what's that like for you? Because you're a part of both communities, and how do you bring that all together?
For me, it's just blending. My roots start out in leather, then I got into rubber, which I do truly identify as a rubberist. But a lot of elements that I kind of carry with me within my rubber play and that lifestyle cross and bleeds with with leather. So I just kind of blend the two. Both of them are a part of me. Both of them are a part of my journey. So it's just about helping to bridge the gap because I also do know that there's a clear gap sometimes between the two communities and trying to really make it visible that we are all one, we're all equal, and that whether you are feeling your rubber side or you're in your rubber, you can be welcome and enter into the leather spaces. So I think that's very important as well.
You're a bridge, you're bridging those things together. What is
Yeah.
like, where do you get your inspiration from? Like, what really is inspiring you right now?
What inspires me is just that it's not even about me. It's about the generations behind that's coming up behind me. So like, when I started out, it was very few figures that I actually kind of seen and sought out that was blending masculine and feminine, blending whether or not you can be more on the feminine side and still being a dominant. So it's just about making sure that I am using myself as a vessel to help create visibility in spaces for those who identify likewise.
Do you feel like, let's be honest, like, the journey of being black and femme is not easy, right?
Oh no.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit and like why that is. Um, especially being a part of the black community, it's like still, I was raised in a African American missionary Baptist church, and like
Hmm.
homosexuality or queerness and all that was like there. We just didn't talk about it directly. Like we accepted everybody in our church home, but like, and like there will be talks, but there was never any direct conversations. I know in more stricter families and churches, you know, it's a hard thing. You can't be black and gay. It's really difficult. And how are you navigating that as also being someone that embraces your femme side?
For me, it's just, to me, it's lack of ignorance. I think that, I can go on and on about different comments that I have heard throughout my journey, especially as being femme, because a lot of it was, oh, you're a femme, you'll be a boy, right? Or you'll be a submissive. And it's like, no, you don't have to fall into that. If that's your characteristic and you choose that route, then that's fine. You choose that part of your journey. But I just really think that a lot of times people look at femininity as a weakness, not a power. So I think that it also plays in people's psyche when it comes to that. I embrace it. I embrace both sides of me. The same way people can call out all the feminine qualities that I might possess, people can also figure out all the masculine qualities I possess. And I tell people all day long, yeah, you can see me in heels today and you'll see me on a Harley tomorrow. So you
How,
don't fit me in a box, right?
but
I'm not in a box.
you command, like, I'm not saying like you're active, but like you command the room when you walk in there. And everybody, I've been on the little submissive side to Pusckatt. He had to use me as a prop for a photo shoot. So I just went with it. You know what I'm saying? I just went with it because, but,
Correct, correct.
you know, we, uh, when we were in New Orleans together, that was really cool because it was more
Mhm.
like a leisure thing, I believe. Well, I think I was judging, but you were there
Yeah,
that weekend. But like that was a really cool
that
experience.
was it. Yeah.
Mhm. And so you have you are a mentor. So and you're mentoring a lot of people, right? Like,
Mhm.
as a mentor, and we'll start transitioning to what the book's about. How do you encourage your people that, seek to you for guidance? How do you give them advice in terms of being authentic to themselves?
Well, first, we try to find out, and I have conversations to find out what it is that they don't feel secure about. So it's about tapping into being secure and confident within yourself, and really fade out any of the naysays or anything that you feel like you can't do. So, and with that is just showing up authentically, right? Yes, you're gonna have people that enjoy it. Yes, you're gonna have people that don't enjoy it. But who gives a fuck about who don't enjoy it? And I always tell people, even like as I walk, I'm not for the masses. I'm not for everyone. I don't try to be for everyone, right? I show up and I'm there for those who show up and are there for me. And I think that the more that we do that and still be in welcoming, it invite others in. So when people talk about, yeah, you demand a presence when you walk into a room, or you hold your own when you walk into a room, is because I am 100% comfortable with who I am, right? I don't need to have engagement with 50 people at a bar. I can find that one person that's on the side of the room that don't feel like they belong, and have a very meaningful conversation and have the best time there is to have. And it just goes back to empowering those, because at the end of the day, we all belong. And if we're not in a dynamic or we're not playing, I don't care what you think and what's your opinion. I really don't. And so that's a lot of what I tell people, talk to people about, is that you are who you are. You're here for a reason. Enjoy your space. Enjoy this lifestyle. All of this play, all this engagements is a fantasy that we get to live out that others are afraid to.
Do you feel do you engage a lot of people that just don't feel like they know their purpose?
I think at a small point, everyone kind of somewhat have an idea what their purpose is. They just haven't tapped into it or
You
figured it
think
out.
so?
And
You
that's the
so?
whole
Like, what about
I
like,
think no, you have what you have in mind to a certain extent, and a lot of times it's trial and error, because where you think that, I mean, I can use myself as an example. Where I think I am right now is nowhere in the cards of when I started out, right?
yeah.
But it also took for people to pour into me to kind of get me to be okay with exploring different aspects of myself. And then that's when you start tapping into your true reason, your true purpose on what it is that you want to do. And it changed. It's not a set thing. It changes through, it can be one thing the beginning of the year, it can be something different at the end of the year.
So, like, trial and error, like you live and learn type of approach to it. So, like now within the leather community, I feel like a lot of people are in our community or the rubber community or in the fetish communities that we know kind of an idea of what purpose is, but I see so many people outside of our experience that don't know. And I saw someone post like, "Oh, I don't know why I'm here," and I found that a little sad because, like you, I feel like my purpose is what I'm doing, like the things that I do. I'm playing my part. I'm giving back to the world, and I'm trying to fulfill my own dreams at the same time. But confidence is something that you have to work on having, and I think I think what the trick is people not trusting themselves. And when you learn how to trust yourself, then you're able to take more risk and learn what is or what is not you. But like I didn't have this confidence 3 years ago. You know what I'm saying? Where I'm at today. I agree. Like there is nothing I'm doing now that I would have been able to predict in 2022. Like none of it. Like, and so I reach out for guidance if I have a question
Mhm.
or if I think maybe I'm doing something that might be questionable in the community. I just always talk to mentors before I make public decisions that might be new or unfamiliar. So I make sure I'm doing it in a respectful way. But it's taken a bit to get to the place where, I'm LTJ. Like, this is who I am. This is what I have to offer. But it took knowing people like you and seeing how well you knew yourself, how comfortable you are to be like, hey, I can be this way too. I can walk into a room and feel just as important or just as welcoming, like I can do that. Now we all don't always have our best days, but I try my hardest to always just do the best I can and be honest when I'm not when I don't think I'm doing my best. But I think how do you feel about like compassion towards each other in terms of making mistakes in front of the community and stuff? Like, there's the whole argument, do we call in, call out? Do you engage a lot of people? You're smiling. Do you engage a lot of people that just really feel like they are kind of scared to get involved?
So my approach is a lot different. Well, not really different, but I think it's twofold. I think that there's always a lot of controversy going on a lot of time, but for me, I kind of am more of a behind the scenes one-on-one conversation with the individual, whether it's because a lot of it is observation and opinions, and I really try to understand what caused whatever the action is. You have a lot of people that just like to go straight out to social media. That's just not my style. I feel that when you do that, everyone is on the defense. So do you really get through to an individual calling them out in front of everybody? So for me, I would rather just tap a person on the shoulder. So many times I've done that, tap a person on the shoulder, reach out to them, and just have a conversation. Just try to understand what stemmed and what caused whatever the rift, whatever's going on. And I think it de-escalates the situation, at least in my opinion and in my experience, they have been more receptive to listening. It takes time. It's a lot of times that of course, we want things done and changed rapidly, but also we have to understand the intention behind what caused that person to do whatever. And sometimes it's just not going to be a quick fix. Sometimes it's a learning lesson. And I'm really big on understanding people make mistakes. We all make mistakes. We all gonna stumble. But it's about their actions behind the mistake. And I think that's very important.
And two, putting time and energy into the right things. Like people put so much time and energy in Facebook. Look, I'm on there; it's a networking tool. I get frustrated a lot of things because I see things coming through my newsfeed, but I'm not usually the person to jump on someone else's page and give my opinion, unless it's something I've
Mhm.
had experience with. But I have been really concerned about seeing people I know fighting on Facebook, and I don't see how productive it is because a lot of the people were getting frustrated, if it's not people that are within the community saying problematic things, is that we're fighting with like MAGA people on Facebook, and half the time they don't even have a picture up. So I'm watching on Facebook the other day, people argue with a cat photo. Now, and I'm
Yeah.
just kind of like, I had to comment and be like, why are we doing this? Like this energy, take it to the streets. Like if you're getting up and you're going out your day and you're worried about a Facebook comment you posted or something like that, like make it make sense. And I know that you don't take your time and energy to go and be on Facebook to do that. You're taking your time and energy to write a book. Make a
Yeah, I
difference.
do other stuff. I mean, I see stuff, people that definitely people that I'm, in communication with and that I know. And sometimes it's people that I don't know. There's many people that can say that I will reach out to them and be like, okay, back off, kind of just let it be. Some stuff I'll be like, this gonna sizzle out, it's gonna die out. It don't really take all this energy because you can see like people get so worked up, and I'm kind of like, this is not your fight, right?
Yeah.
So again, it's about being that person of being of reason to say like, or it's been times where I know two people are going back and forth and making comments on social media, and I'm in both of their like, y'all need to take this offline.
That
Social media is not the place for y'all going back and forth, or y'all are like clearly everyone can read between the lines that you guys are talking about each other, and it's not that you shouldn't do this on social media.
yeah.
It's not good for neither one of you, and it's not good for your community because a lot of times you are dividing the community.
You're right. You're absolutely right. So let's transition into the book now. Let's talk about this.
Okay.
So what are we
All
getting? What are
right.
you bringing us to the community? Are you about to put it up on the screen? What are you doing?
No, I'm not putting it on the
Oh, I
screen
thought
just
you were
yet.
about to put it on.
But basically, it's really but it's really just a diary of experiences that I've had throughout the past, actually since like my title year. moving forward. So it's going to be a lot of like it's basically like a lot of different small stories in regards of dynamics that I have been in, engaged in different type of kink scenes with. It kind of gives you more of a lot of people have always told me that when they see me at events and they see me out and about, I'm very like business one way. So they never really engage and really see a lot of the play and a lot of the fun that I actually do have at these events. Because a lot of it is done behind the scenes or in private areas. So this book kind of opens up a different light on like different experiences that I've had at events. It's very clear the events are called out within the book. Majority of the imagery that you will see, all of the imagery is stemmed from the story. There's a few that they were stand-in models, but 90% of the images that are in the book are with the actual individual.
Are there pictures of you in the book?
Is me, yeah, me and the individuals, yeah,
Yeah. So
in some type of thing.
it's called Raw Desire, right?
Raw desire, yeah.
What does that mean to you?
Raw is for me is the unpeeling back of the raw aesthetic of myself. In the flesh, raw to the point. It gets very nitty gritty with the actual play. It's a very sexual forward piece of work, but it's definitely something that a lot of people might know about, but they haven't really like heard the actual story in regards to it,
So
from my perspective.
you're releasing your sexual side in book form?
Correct.
Okay, okay. And like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want you to give us too much details, but so like give me an example of something that you reveal in the book that maybe people don't realize about you.
There's a couple of stories in there in regards to actually playing and having sexual activity in public form that a lot of people, unless you were at that event, you would not have actually seen and engaged in. A lot of it is pushing the boundaries with the dominant submission with a submissive. Um, More entailed on the actual scene and the sexual nature of the scene. Again, like I said, a lot of people always see me at events on more of a work involved on panels, but not really like in the full headspace of play. So this just dives into a different side of what people might not have actually seen.
That's cool. And so, are you educating through your sexual experiences?
There are some reflections. There are a few chapters that are reflections after the experience. So there's one, for instance, where the submissive kind of was trying to really how can I say it? Kind of got hesitant, and it talks about the reflection of that experience and bring and kind of like slowing back, pulling back, and then moving forward within the actual scene.
So, what's been your biggest revelation about this book? What's in there that was like the biggest, like, oh, okay, like this is who I am. This is what I have to offer. Like like, like in writing this book, like what is your biggest reveal without giving too much that you did? Was there anything when you were writing this book that you didn't think that you were going to talk about that you talked about, or is there something that anything that you felt, okay, yeah, I thought this was going to be a part of the book, but now it's not a part of the book?
So a lot of it was for me, I think it was the nature of the vulnerability of sharing the full experiences, right? Like how deep am I going to go into the actual engagement between me and another party? Um, and I toy back and forth with it, because also I have to worry about my professional lifestyle as well as this, who sees the book, who doesn't see the book, making sure that the individuals that I am telling the story were okay with me telling the story. Um, that was a big piece. That whole vulnerability aspect of it. I was very strategic in when I was actually shooting and collecting a lot of the imagery for it. So within the book, you'll notice that a lot of it is very the subjects are there, but I also tried to make sure I conceal some of their identities. So it was a lot of negotiation with that. But as far as the revelation of it all, is just like, when you start out in this journey, you don't really know how the journey is going to unfold, right? So for me, when I look at this piece of work, it's like, wow, like starting out into where I am now, it is a full revelation of like all the different things I can get myself into, right? All the different places I've been, all the different individuals that I've had some type of engagement and connection with, to even have and share these stories is just like an aha moment for me, and for me to have the conversation with them and for them to be okay with me sharing the story.
I started working on a little series about like my growing up experience. And, when I'm writing it and trying to figure out things to reveal, was there any insecurity about what you were going to reveal in the book? Like, were you like, all right, I'm going to be fearless and put this out here. I don't know how people are going to take it. Cause, you know, there's nothing braver than being to revealing like who you are and what you have to offer. And so, I find sometimes I get a little bit about and the describing these or the content, like, am I going too far? How far should I go? And but like knowing you and knowing your thing, like you wrote the book for you for the community. And a lot of people
Mhm.
put books and stuff together for other people, and so they're always second guessing what they're putting into the book or their story or stuff. When you were putting this together, did you second guess yourself at all?
Oh, I did. Because I mean, for me, this book is because it's very vulnerable, right? Because you're talking about like sexual acts and activities that you've done with different individuals, and then, I'm married, so then it was like, how much do I share on this particular experience with this particular individual, and what's the backlash behind that, right? What's the backlash of just sharing anything? And like I said, it was about making sure that you were having conversations with individuals that you have these encounters with, and how descriptive it's going to be, or how telling is it going to be, for if a person is reading a story, are they going to be like, oh, this was actually this particular individual, right? And if that is the case, is that individual okay with doing it, um with that information being out? So it was a lot of that. It was a lot of back and forth. um yeah. But the biggest thing was like the vulnerability within myself, is like, okay, because I also know that I've created this presence of myself on, yes, I'm kinky, yes, I do all these different things, but how open am I when I'm out at events, right? So it's always like, because like, again, I always tell people it's like work. A lot of times I'm on panels, a lot of times I'm doing this, that, and the other, and for my own personal reasons, did not want to be in events and so visibly doing so many different things, and then I'm again on a panel where I'm judging other contestants or things like that. I'm there for a purpose. So a lot of times if I'm judging an event, I'm there to judge the event. I'm just as invested as a contestant is. So play is not really on the radar for me. Um, but then if there are the times that I am behind the scenes, or I am doing my thing. Of course, but again, it's how much of that information I want out there like that.
Uh,
So
um,
this book definitely dives into, is very explicit, a lot more in detail in experiences that I've had.
um, did you feel like mentioning names was important, or do you just kind of approach it and just kind of vaguely maybe refer to people like not by their names? I know when I write sometimes the historical components of my life, there's some names I mention and then there's some I don't like. And um for me, especially when I'm writing this stuff right now about high school and things like that, I lost my virginity at a very young age to someone that died when we were young. And that was like a secret that I had for like a long time. And so I actually wrote this. Well, I'm getting to the point, but I've opened up about having like some early abusive relationships that I didn't realize were abusive when I was just in my teen years. And
Mhm.
I'm coming up to the big reveal of this person dying in my episodes, and I put the name Michael out there because his name was Michael. But sometimes I'm wondering, I'll go like, are people going to do the investigative work and really go back and see who exactly? Because it's easy to figure it out if people knew who I was when I was in there. And it's just like, I struggle with, am I going to use a false name for this person or use their real name? I chose to use their real name. I'm not using their last name, but for me to feel like I was actually telling my story, I needed to be honest. And I'm writing this for me, but I want people to read it to understand it's not easy to grow up as a black person in a predominantly white racist neighborhood. It's not I had a lot of very weird relationships with white men early on in my life that I would never deal with today. You know what I'm saying? So I talk about racism and things like that, and I mention the names that I feel are impactful for my story. But there are times where I'm just kind of like, oh, I had this friend, blah blah blah, that wasn't significant or things like that. But um, did you feel that that was part of telling the truth, or you didn't think that was really necessary to like go into like who the people actually were?
So it's interesting. So in my actual writings, because that was part of like my journey as during my title holder year, like, it was talking to different people. They're like, oh, you got a journal, you got to write all these different things down. And so you always remember these experiences. So I did that. So their names are there. In the actual book, their names are not mentioned.
Gotcha.
Because I wanted it to be cohesive with those who are okay. But it was very interesting because as I was like, you have this book, you're going through your what stories you want to put in the book, what stories you don't want to put in the book, and you're talking to different people. Because again, I don't want to say like, there's like, for instance, there's a story in there in regards to the Bayou, right? So everyone is automatically gonna know when they see the person, and they see the image, yes, it's my boy Rubber Cage, right? So I mean, it's gonna be very ding ding ding, right? Um, but even then, like, he's like, oh yeah, put my name in the book. And I think he kind of really wants his name in the book. And there's been quite a few different individuals who's like, oh yes, put my name in the book. I want my name in the book. And I'm kind of like, but then I have others who, due to work, we don't put names in the book, or some people don't even have scene names. So for me for the book to be cohesive, I did not include names. Um, People will figure a lot of it out. Because they will probably recognize the story, the environment, the area that it's in. Um, Looking at the image, they'd be like, okay, well, this person clearly lives there. This person is who must be who it is. Which is fine because all those individuals have given up consent for that story to be released. Um, but yeah, I kind of shied away from actual names. I don't know, it's kind of like this mystery with it. I kind of like, when I look through the manuscript and I read it, it's almost like I give so much of vulnerability of what's going on of the actual experience, but then I have this mysterious of like, but you don't actually know the exact person kind of thing, if that makes sense.
No,
So it gives me still that sense of ownership to my memory.
no, that's fair. And it's protecting not only your personal interest in the book, but the people that you're involved with. And I totally understand that. Generally, I mean, we're towards the end. I would generally ask the question, is there something in the community you think we should be focusing on or anything? But instead of that, my question to you is, what's been the biggest win for you in writing this book?
Completing it.
That's fair. Getting through it, right?
Completing it.
How long did it take you?
Oh my God, this project's been going on for about almost 2 years, a year and a half, 2 years. Um, it was about collecting it all. It's a lot more intense than what I thought it was to just to kind of, it's one thing to like have a journal, you journaling it all down. Then you got to turn around and make sure it's like grammatically correct. This and the other. It's not just some whim of a writing. So it's a lot of back and forth. It's a lot of reading. And then some of the hardest part is reliving the experience.
Oh,
You
was it
know,
traumatic or at all?
there's
Like, is there trauma in there?
no, it's not trauma, but it's just that, you have such an aha amazing experience. Like there's one that I had an experience that when I was in Czech Republic, right? So that's in the book. And the odds of me re-engaging with that individual to do another scene or to have more playtime is not as available as it would be for me to go over to New Orleans and play with Rubber Cage. So you start reliving some of these moments, and it's like, oh wow, like I really enjoyed this. I really would like to experience this again. But when would that be? So there's a couple stories in there with individuals that we actually had a really good connection and we played, but it might be a couple years before that experience might happen again. Who knows?
Yeah, but the door is like open for that.
Yeah, the door is open for it, but I mean, it's just lining up the time and the travel to kind of make it happen, right?
Before we end, now
But
I want to know about what it was like going to the Czech Republic, especially as a Black person.
for me, I had an amazing time. It was definitely a unique experience. The way that they playing in the bunkers and playing underground in certain play spaces, very different. Um, they're into a lot of heavy duty gear that a lot of other communities are not into, or they don't really practice a lot of. As far as being black, I do know that I did engage with a lot of play. I think that they didn't really have a lot of people that look like me to
Right.
play with. Um, so I took that for what it's worth. For me, it's more so about the attention than anything.
You were like exotic to them.
Yeah, which I was okay with it.
That's fine. No, it's not being exotic. There's nothing wrong with being exotic. Not at all.
But
All right, go ahead. What you gonna say?
no,
Yeah.
no. What I was saying, I mean, because you have to respect and understand, like in certain spaces. You have those individuals that, there's been a lot of places over that I've traveled overseas that you are the minority. They might not have had a chance to play with someone that looked like you, right? So this is their opportunity and they seize on the opportunity. So I mean, it is what it is to me. As long as the experience is mutual, consent is involved, and we both have that attraction. And I think one thing about me is that I just don't play and engage with just anyone.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right. So again, it goes back to I tell people I'm not for the masses. I don't want to play with I don't want to go into a space and you got 40 or 50 people saying they play with me. That's just not my thing. Right. So, when I step into an environment and I step into an environment with a boy or a submissive or someone that I might have came to an environment with, they're not gonna run into, oh, you're gonna have 10, 12 people saying that we played together. It's not my thing. It's nothing against anyone who does do that. Um, so I very much will vet out the scenes and the play partners that I have. I don't just play on the whim.
I think my last question is, were you welcome? Were you made to feel safe? Like, did you feel okay in that space?
Oh yeah, I definitely felt welcome. I definitely felt okay. I think out of all my travels, there's never really been a space that I didn't feel welcomed. Um, but also, I always tell people that I also do know that I hold my own to a certain extent, and so even if there were areas where I don't know, I think my experience is always different. I know people can go into a space and say, "Oh, they feel like it wasn't welcome." I command my space. I command wherever I go. And when I say I command wherever I go, I was like, when I walk in the door, I know I belong. Nobody has to tell me whether I belong or don't belong. And I'm gonna be there and enjoy myself until I feel fit to leave. And most times if I am going into an environment, most times if it's an environment I've never been in, I normally have one or two people with me regardless anyway. So we just create and do our own thing. Um, so I mean, of course, I keep my eye looking. I do keep my eyes open if there's any bias or prejudice that I see. But I just don't kind of pay any attention to it.
So tell everybody when's it
But
coming, when are they going to be able to get it, where can they get it?
so the actual official book release will be at AKW Weekend. So that it will be on sale at AKW Weekend. After that, you will be able to go to the actual website, which will be pussycat.com, in regards to being able to order the book and have it shipped to you.
We have to. I want you to come back once we do this release and figure out some time later in this year where we can just kind of talk about it after the release, if you'd be down for that.
Oh, definitely,
Yeah, I would love
definitely.
to do that with you. So let's I guess reconvene and talk about something after IML, I guess. And see, because it'll be out for a little bit. People would be able to have their hands
Yeah,
on it, so we can discuss it a little bit more. That sound like a plan?
that's definitely sounds like a plan. I see a lot of people are kind of buzzing about it. So yeah, I'm definitely looking
So
forward to it.
I want you to come back in a few months. Okay,
All
Pusckatt,
right.
there's one thing left to
All
do.
right.
Do you know what you got to do?
What's that?
You got to close the
What we
show.
got to do?
You got to close the show.
Ah!
You got to say, if you're not throwing light, you're not acting right.
If you're not throwing light, you're not acting right. So
There you
follow
go.
us at the next episode.
Yes. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank
Thank you for
you.
your time, and I look forward to having you, and I look forward to seeing you in person. Y'all, that's been another episode of Throwing Light. Remember, Pushkatt's book is coming. We are all out. Bye.